So there's one of those linked in the syllabus, and I was super proud of myself earlier today because I had remembered to finish the syllabus and update it and fix all the dates and all that stuff. Yeah, and I was walking around my office all proud of myself this morning, and then it dawned on me that maybe I should post the syllabus where you could see it because it's ready. But it only took a few minutes. Half hour, something like that, before I realized it's up there. Who is very responsible and can tell time? I need one volunteer. Is very responsible and can tell time. Oh, no, because I'm supposed to remember your name. I think. What's your name?
Jack.
Jack. No.
No, that's new. It's okay.
All right, Jack. Jack, your job at quarter of is to require me to stop talking, even if I don't want to, so that I can review a couple of organizational things for the class, because I don't want to waste time at the beginning talking about organizational stuff. I think we're sharing the screen. Everything seems to be up here. All right, perfect. Anybody know what today's lecture is about? Anybody look at that syllabus for the 15 minutes that it was posted before you got here? Or anybody remember what we said it was going to be about? Because on Thursday we said what it was going to be about. What's your name again? Brianna? Biana. No R. Biana. Biana, what's today's class about? Quality in manufacturing. It says that on the screen too, doesn't it? Yeah. Just make sure everybody can pay attention. I mean, it says part of it on the screen, sort of. And I do have PowerPoints. See, I don't never have PowerPoints. This first part of the class is going to be a little bit interactive. Which car manufacturer offers the highest quality? I give you three choices. You don't get to shout them out because now there's so many. Everybody's trying to make an electric car these days. Is it Mercedes-Benz? Is it Kia? Or is it Chevrolet? Don't speak. If you believe it is Mercedes, gaggle on this side of the room. If you believe it is Chevrolet, gaggle on this side of the room. And if you think it's Kia, stay in the middle. Which car manufacturer offers the highest quality? All right, so are you Kia believers or are you just too lazy to get up? Kia believers. A little bit of both, that's fair. All right, so you guys are my Chevy fans? Toyota's not on the chart. Because, I mean, I was a Chevy person for a long time. My dad was a Chevy man, right? Until he got a Ford as a company vehicle, and I realized that they were harder to destroy. You guys are the Mercedes? Yeah. Mercedes and Kia in the middle. So somebody over here on Chevy, tell me why. Yes?
I'm not super confident that it is Chevy, but...
Not super confident, but you're standing up for what you believe because this is America.
Well, I just feel like Kia is, no offense, not the best. And then
Feels...
I know for Mercedes cars, there's always a lot of...
All right, keyword was feel.
Yeah.
Okay. Mercedes, why?
It's a luxury car, so...
It's a luxury car.
It's German.
It's German. Germans do stuff made out of steel. There's some steel in that Chevy.
But all steel for Mercedes.
All steel for Mercedes. What about you Kia folks? What do you got?
They hired executives from the other companies.
They hired executives from the other companies.
They also brought in executives from all over the world.
Brought in people from all over the world. So in your mind, they were trying to design a quality vehicle from the beginning?
Yes, rather than these other companies that have been around for so long that they're just stuck in their own ways.
All right, so I think we gotta. This is probably the first. What do you got?
I was talking to my friends here about it depends on what quality we're talking about, like overall quality.
right.
Versus
What's your name again?
Sarah.
Kara says she feels like it's Chevy, and what's your name? Cece says that it depends on what quality means. Is that paraphrasing? Is that correct? And I mean, come on, it's Mercedes. It's luxury. It's got to be the quality one, right? What do you got?
I would argue that having a brand name like Mercedes allows them to make slip-ups without people caring.
You would argue that having a big brand name allows them to screw up. You can sit back down wherever you want to sit now. Have you, but argument person there. What's your name again? Arjun, right? Yeah. Arjun sort of sounds like argument. Arjun says that because Mercedes has got this big brand, they can get away with stuff. I don't know that that is true. Having driven a Mercedes into the service bay before, I'm not certain that having a big brand allows them to get away with stuff. So, according to JD Power in 2017, so this data is a couple years old. I should probably update this slide. Kia had the fewest customer complaints per 100 vehicles for new car owners. Chevy was somewhere in the middle with 80, 88, and Mercedes-Benz had 102 complaints per 100 vehicles sold.
What? How do you have more complaints?
Somebody complained more than once.
I feel like this is a reliability, not like a. I don't know the definition.
It says customer complaints was what they said. Customer complaints, and so I actually think. Go ahead.
Were they asked specifically, like, is there something wrong with your car? Or do they have to submit them?
My understanding, and now I did read the article a few years ago. My understanding was that they got statistics from the dealers' service centers. So, how many times did a new car come back this year? How many times did a new car come back this year? How many times did a new car come back this year? So it didn't differentiate on what was the complaint, and it was for new cars, right? So what do we know now? Is Cara right? Where'd you go? You're here. You were over there before, but at least you've got the bright pink locator jacket on, so I can find you. So you said you picked Chevy because you felt like that could be the right answer, right? And I forget who it was that said they picked Mercedes because it was luxury. That was you? Gabriel said he picked Mercedes because it was luxury. And Cece, right? Cece said that, hey, it depends, right? And not the diapers that you buy at the store. It depends on what we mean when we say quality. So what is quality? I think that's what the title of the next slide is. Oh, yeah, cool. What is quality?
Well, I think like, depending on the product you're selling, there's like a minimum standard, like you have to meet this safety requirements.
So it depends on some minimum standard. And yeah, there certainly are safety requirements for automobiles and for cars. But we assumed that they all were going to be safe, I think. Did we? No? I mean, I assume that if I get in a new car, it's got some safety features in it. I assume that when I get in a new car, the brakes are going to work, that I'm going to be able to steer it in the direction I want it to go, those kind of things. I make those assumptions. Go ahead.
It's like a standard when you're comparing it to something else. So like you're kind of saying different features of different cars. So one may have a really good music system, but the other has really good like smooth ride.
Yeah, so standards are actually useful only when you're comparing one thing to another thing. And we'll have a lecture where we talk in detail about standards, in fact, later in the class. But and standards actually help us to understand and talk about quality quite a bit as we do this. But let's step back. What is quality itself? Does quality mean something to you? Up in the back, WPI hoodie.
How close it is to like the optimum performance.
How close it is to the optimum performance, you say?
Yeah, like
Okay. So, yes, what do you say? How well it meets your expectations. Does anybody know what the grading criteria is for MQPs and IQPs here at WPI? Anybody doing one right now? Raise your hand if you're doing one of those right now. Do you know what the grading criteria is? Have you read the course catalog? What is the grading criteria? How do you get an A? You get an A by exceeding the expectations. It actually does not say whose expectations. Exceeding expectations, it says.
And I think it also includes teamwork, effective teamwork.
Only if the advisor expects that. It's hard to do teamwork when it's a solo MQP, and I've advised a couple solo MQPs. So yeah. So what is this thing we call quality? Over here we say that it's got to do with standards. You say it's got to do with expectations. The ability to do a given task. Yeah.
You know, quality is like, probably Spanish or Latin, but like cuanto is basically Spanish for how many, so that's quantity. But quality is derived from the word cual or which or what.
Huh. I never heard that before. But so it's what it is, not how many it is what you're
exactly.
saying.
Yeah, that's what quality is.
I feel like quantity, it kind of says it on the slide. It's just like, does it make you feel satisfied in your purchase?
So, all right. So, is quality in the eye of the beholder? Right. We've all heard beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Is quality in the eye of the beholder? So, ASQ. I think it used to stand for American Society for Quality. Now it just stands for ASQ. This way they can have international meetings and international members, and they can be part of the world. But it started as an American society. People like to group together with like people. You've observed that before. And so engineers especially need to have groups, because we're not good at talking to other people in general. But at least when you put a bunch of engineers in the room and they're all bumping into each other because they're looking at each other's shoes, they feel a little bit more comfortable because they're all doing it, right? So we'll see that there's a lot of societies. There's the ASME and SME and ASQ, and there's all kinds of different engineering societies. So this is the one for quality engineers. Who thinks they may have a job someday as a quality engineer? Couple people. I think more hands should go up, but maybe not. So what companies need to have quality engineers? Any company that makes anything probably needs to have a quality engineer. Maybe not an engineer, but they need to have somebody that's in charge of quality, right? So ASQ says that quality is a subjective term. And each person or sector has its own definition. In technical, it says it can be two different meanings. The characteristics of a product or service that bear on its ability to satisfy its implied needs, right? That's what you said, but right? It's does it do the thing you said it was going to do? This is also, yeah, go ahead.
Also, like, as from like when we're talking about cars and things like that, I think one of the complaints would be like nothing to do with performance or music or anything like that. Maybe a bad smell as soon as you get in the car. Yeah, that actually happens to me.
I've had cars that had bad smells when you got in. Usually it was because of the milk bottle that got left under the seat when my kids were little. or the fact that the windshield leaked and it was all moldy inside. Yeah, so there's different things that impact the consumer. So this definition number one is also how the ISO, another one of these organizations. I would love to say that ISO stands for International Standards Organization, but it actually stands for the French version of that, which is like International, so something, I don't know. It's say it with a French accent. That's what it means. International Standards Organization. No way. It's quarter past. I didn't talk that long at the beginning.
Sorry.
And definition 2, they say, is a product or service free of deficiencies. Is that kind of the same thing? Product that bear on its ability to do its implied needs, free of deficiencies. No, totally not the same thing. You could have defective products that still work, right? They could, I don't know. We usually get a variance from engineering when that comes up. For example, when we're the manufacturer and we've made parts that don't quite meet the tolerances, but we still want to sell them to our customer, we can say, hey, we know these don't meet the tolerances, but will you please buy them anyway? Because we really need the money and we think they'll work. And when their engineers look at it and say, yeah, these will work, then they buy those as sort of a variance, and you can get that for your contract. Yeah, go ahead.
Quality also include, like, probably irrelevant, but like, doesn't include like the size of the clothing you wear. So if the clothes is too big or too small for you, then that will not meet the expectations.
If I was ordering a tailored suit,
Yeah.
and it didn't fit at the end, and I hadn't changed shape a lot in between when I ordered it and when I got it, then that would be poor quality in my mind, I think. So I don't really love the ASQ definitions of quality. I think they were too woke. I actually don't even know what that word means, but it seemed like a cool thing to say. But I do think that they were trying to satisfy too many people at the same time with their definition here. And I think that in manufacturing specifically, because ASQ is not just talking about manufacturing when they make this definition, they're trying to be more broad. They're trying to include society when they make their definition here. But it's a bunch of engineers that are trying to facilitate manufacturing. So they should have been even more specific with their definition, I think. In definition 1 here, it kind of has it, but I think you can say it simply that quality in manufacturing, you should write this down, it's going to be on the test. Quality in manufacturing is giving the customer what they need when they need it. And so ASQ misses the idea of when they need it. But if you, let's say, for example, I banged out a really good syllabus for this class. And it was an amazing syllabus. There's no broken links, no typos, no misspelled words. Everything was entirely accurate as to when it was going to happen in the class. But I didn't give it to you until the day after the term was over, which almost happened this term, right? That wouldn't be a quality syllabus, would it?
No.
It may have been perfect in every sense of bearing on its ability to satisfy stated or implied needs. But if I gave it to you after it wasn't important anymore, it would be useless. It would not be a quality syllabus. So ASQ misses on this point of you've got to actually deliver the parts on time. I just want to quickly go back to our GD Power study here. What does this actually mean? So yeah, I use this as an example so we get the discussion started, but what does it actually mean?
Someone thought that there might be a problem with their vehicle, so they proposed
Someone thought there was something wrong with their vehicle, so they brought it back to the shop. So was Arjun? Somebody over here said that Mercedes has got a fancy brand, so they can get away with stuff. I actually think that works against them in this new car quality evaluation, because people have high expectations when they've dropped 150 grand on a car, right? But when it's 15 or 20 grand, they're not expecting the same things.
I would also argue that when it's more expensive brand, is your customers are gonna have the money to get like every small issue fixed. Those are the expensive brand, for you higher chance that you just don't have the money to bring it in, repair stuff. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, so I've actually never owned a Kia, so I've never taken a Kia to the Kia service center. But I have owned several Toyotas, and I've taken several of that. Well, not very often though; they just don't break. But I've taken my Toyota to the service center, and they typically have a van that can bring me someplace when I drop it off, and they bring me somewhere. Never when I brought my Mercedes to the Mercedes service center did they make me get in a van. They gave me a car. They gave me another Mercedes to drive, something roughly equivalent to the car I was driving, right? So I think that there's some different expectations also. So when it's making a funny noise and I know I can just go drop it off and drive away in another car and do my daily stuff, I'm more willing to go drop it off also. When, I had to leave my car for the day so they can figure out what that funny noise was, the noise doesn't bother me that much. So I do think, especially when I got to get to work, I don't have time to go drop it off at the dealer. I got to get to work. So I think some of those Mercedes customers, heck, they could have had their chauffeur go drop it off. Who knows, right? So I think some of it really has to do with more than just manufacturing quality when we look at something like this. So manufacturing quality is actually, I don't know. Is it different from consumer quality? Is it really different? As the consumer, even if you're willing to accept less quality or less convenience, does that mean you don't recognize it? But 100% quality manufacturing is giving the customer what they need when they need it. All right, so if giving the customer what they need when they need it is quality, how do you know when you have said quality? If you're the manufacturer. Up over here, Boston hat.
Yeah, returning customers.
You have returning customers. So they pay you, not only do they pay you again. They come back. That can be a long, lonely wait. If your customers come back with some products, especially if it's like a car and they're going to drive it for 5-6 years before the lease payments, especially with today's car prices. How else could we know if we have quality?
If they buy it in the first place.
All right, so if they buy it in the first place and then don't immediately demand their money back. Yep.
In a modern society, I guess good reviews or referring other people.
Good reviews or getting new customers from referrals from other customers. That's especially important in service areas.
It's generally better than like the normal standard at the time. So like
Okay, so you say that your stuff is better than the normal standard. My question is, how do you know?
Probably like, well, I'll say the Dodger thing you probably has to make sure that it's durable enough, fast enough to accelerate, they can brake well. You know, like just quality of life.
Okay, so we don't have to talk just about cars, but I see where you're going with that. I'm gonna. Can I make one of the screens go up? Room control. Right projector. Come on. Room control. There it is. Up. And mute. All right. So
There's chalk here.
there's little tiny pieces of chalk here.
It's over here.
Oh, there's all kinds of chalk here. Big pieces, little pieces. It's like a cornucopia of chalk. Oh, shoot. Lights.
What does that even mean? Cornucopia, whatever you call it.
Isn't a cornucopia like lots of stuff?
I never.
I don't
heard
know.
that term
What is a
before.
cornucopia? Somebody look it up. Read the definition.
That Thanksgiving thing. Yeah, the big like thing with the food in it. Kind of looks like a horn. Yeah.
Turn on the wrong lights, by the way.
I wish they were labeled.
Never heard of that term before, honestly. No cap.
Cornucopia?
Yeah, no cap. I never heard that term before.
Huh. All right. It's the thing in the center of the yeah, but it's plentiful.
Yes.
Cornucopia is
the point
plentiful.
there's a lot of stuff in it.
The point is that it's a plentiful display of your
Variety of stuff.
variety of food for your feast. Perfect. Thanks. Somebody write his name down. He needs bonus points. He defended me here. I don't know if we can see the board here. How do you know when you have quality before you ship it to the customer? Wouldn't that be nice? So yeah, after we ship it to the customer, for it, how do we know if we have quality before we ship it to the customer?
It passes tests.
So we test it. And that's actually what the ASQ guys like to talk about, is how to do things like this. Now, what kind of test would we want to perform? If you're buying a television, what kind of test would you like it to have performed before you take it out of the box?
Shows images or shows videos.
Yeah, so you can turn it on, right? You can change the channel, and it shows the stuff that's supposed to be on that channel. So you can do functional testing. So you can do functional. Testing for quality, and that's what the consumer is going to do. So if it's a consumer product, they're going to functionally test it. They're going to take it out of the box. I bought a toilet from Home Depot once, and I did not check inside the box before I bought the toilet.
Functional test happening.
No, I did not do a functional test at Home Depot. Although I was shopping with my kids at IKEA yesterday, and I note that they have all the toilet seats screwed down, all the lids at IKEA. But so I bought this toilet. I brought it out to my van. I loaded it in the back of the van. I drove to the apartment building where it was going. I carried it up 3 flights of stairs. I didn't have any help. I mean, I didn't carry it. I used the two-wheeler, but I brought it up 3 flights of stairs, brought it into the apartment. What do you do before you install a toilet? You remove the old one, right? So I took the old one out, moved it over here, opened up the box. It was broken in half. Not quite. It was made that way. It was like from the kiln. Like it never should have gone in the box. It was like not, yeah. I wasn't very happy. I was an unhappy consumer. I was mad at Home Depot. I was mad at the supplier. I was mad at myself for not opening the box, at least when it was in the van. And for having removed the old toilet, although the old one was leaking water all over the floor anyway, so it's not like leaving it would have been any better. Right, so you could do a functional test. Functional tests can be expensive, especially when you let the consumer do them. What else can we do besides a functional test? Yes.
Durability testing.
So I think durability test is kind of a functional test, right?
Yeah, I was to say that. Like drop, like a, you know, like when they make new phones, they do a drop test or something.
Yeah, I mean where's my phone? Here we go. So I bought one of those cases that I can just throw my phone around. When they tested the case, they dropped it out of a helicopter. But
like 100 feet, right? Something like that.
yeah, but that's still a functional test.
Yeah.
Well, lifetime, that's-
Yeah, you can test it over time. But what can we do? Because functional tests are expensive, right? You gotta do them. You gotta make the whole thing first. You gotta test it. Then you're probably gonna test more than one. You don't want it to be a fluke that one toilet, that first toilet you made, didn't have any defects, but the whole rest of them did. Or television, right? Go ahead.
And I also seen time-lapse videos when they were making airplanes. Like they were actually testing like all the wing controls, like flaps, the speed brake, and reverse thrust, the landing gear. They're testing all that, like in the warehouse.
There are some things that you kind of have to test, 100% test, and you have to do functional tests before you ship them to the customer. Things like airplanes.
Yeah.
They have to work because people die when they don't work, right? So anybody rock climb? Yeah. So would you rather buy a carabiner that's 100% inspected, or somebody that's just winging it? So one of the jobs I interviewed for after I graduated from WPI was at REI, and it was at their design and R&D lab, and it was going to be a really cool job because you get to spend half the time like out hiking and testing out equipment, and the other half of the job trying to figure out how to break it in the lab so you didn't have to bring it on the side of the mountain. But yeah, so they don't sell carabiners without testing all of them, right? They do a pull test on every single one, but that's because people die when that part fails. Not all parts are like that, and it's still a functional test. They've assembled it and done a functional test on it, but I don't want to do a functional test. Yeah, you can. And we're going to, whenever you do these kind of tests, except for something where people die if you don't do 100% testing on it, you do that kind of sampling. But what we want to do is we want to have specifications for our parts, right? So if we have specifications for the things we're making, and most manufacturing, I said this before, most manufacturing in the United States happens at companies with 50 or fewer employees. You guys heard that, right? Last time we talked about that. Most manufacturing, and so they're not making the airplane. They're making the little widget that goes in the airplane. They're making the handle for the overhead compartment, or they're making the hinges for the overhead compartment. So you can't test that after you assemble the airplane, right? You got to test that before. And so what you do is you look at these specifications and you do measurement. And we get fancy, we call it metrology. But it's just measurement, right? We're measuring things. And so if we're going to measure stuff, what do we have to have in our specifications? I mean, you know you have quality when you've measured it. Yep. So we need to have something to measure. What are the kind of things we could measure? Oh, come on. Start shouting them out. Don't raise your hand, just shout them out. Volume. What's volume? Volume is just length times 3, right? 3 lengths, so we can measure length. Strength. Flexibility. What do we usually call that when we're measuring? Is it like ductility? Elasticity, ductility?
Elasticity is probably better.
Elasticity. What else can we measure? Say again? Weight. How about we measure mass? I mean, we actually measure weight and then we calculate mass, don't we? Yeah, let's do weight. That's what we're gonna. I was all excited to have a blackboard. What else can we measure? Surface finish.
We could also measure like the top speed of the vehicle.
So speed is length over time, correct?
Yeah.
So I suppose we could measure time. We only calculate speed. What else can we measure? Yeah.
Heat capacity.
Heat capacity. Is that K? Is that the variable we use for that? C? Which one's K? K is heat capacity. I'll just write it all out. I was trying to avoid writing the whole thing. We do measure power, sort of. We measure, so if we're measuring electric power, we measure voltage and resistance, right? And then we calculate power. So we could measure things like voltage, resistance, I don't know. I didn't spell that right, but we don't have any red chalk for the squigglies. And conductivity is the inverse of resistance, right? Yeah. We measure temperature. We can measure color. I once built a colorimeter device for measuring color. So we can measure lots of different things. When we get to know that we've got the right thing, we need to measure the things that show up in our specifications that the designer has told us are important for us to measure. Does that make sense? All right. So we can measure stuff without having to build an airplane or the whole car or the whole television or even the whole toilet. We can measure stuff in advance before that. I guess I can leave. You guys can all see the one over here. The room's not so big that you have to have both of them on. So we could decide if we have quality before we ship the parts to the customer, because it's really bad to ship crap to the customers. What happens when we screw up? What happens when we don't have quality? People could sue us. Say again? You lose the funding, right? They don't pay you.
People could die.
People could die, leading to getting sued and losing all of the funding, unless you have good insurance. So typically what happens, so you say you're a manufacturing company, you've manufactured your parts, you shipped them to your customers, and the customer says, this part's no good. I'm not going to pay you for this part. In fact, I'm going to charge you my cost to dispose of this bad part that you sent me. So it's even worse than you don't get paid. You get to pay extra. What else happens? Well, they don't reorder, right? They don't. And so if you're shipping crap to your customers, it's not likely that you will keep those customers for a long time. So how do you fix that problem? Marketing, right? Change the name, do a new Kickstarter, right? You can either make it up with volume to new customers or don't ship crap to the customers. Yeah, so you know when you have it because you measured it. Okay. Did this a little bit out of order. Quality manufacturing. Product service free of deficiencies, right? Yeah, we did that. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Arrow's the wrong way. I'm like, this is the slide I was waiting for. Quality manufacturing, giving customers what they need when they need it. Who was going to remind me to stop?
It's not Cornucopia.
I know, but it's pretty close.
I mean, yeah.
It was good timing on my part
Yeah.
because now I'm ready.
Okay.
All right, syllabus. Very cool. Oh, okay. First off, when's the first lab?
For some, it's tomorrow. For some, it's the day after.
For some of us, it's tomorrow. Who has lab tomorrow? Raise your hand. Should be 18 hands in the air. So you have lab scheduled on Wednesdays?
So yeah, I mean, my work date says it's scheduled for both Tuesday and Thursday, but what does that mean?
Tomorrow's not either Tuesday or Thursday. You don't have lab tomorrow. You only have lab on the days that, so we're not having lab on Monday and Tuesday this week because there was no class on Monday. There are 4 lab sections, and I want them all to be doing the same thing every week. So if I let them get out of phase, then on Mondays we have to set up one lab, and on Tuesdays we have to set up a different lab, and we get really confused, and it never works. I have some experience since the last 18 years of it never works if you don't try to keep a constant schedule. So that, therefore, on days that are special during the term, how many special weeks do we have this term? Anybody know? 50% of the weeks are special this term. This term, although it's 7 weeks long, it spans 8 weeks because we have an entire week off throughout the term. So like the middle of the term, we just take a random Wednesday off. And then near the end of the term, we take off a Thursday and a Friday. We already had a Monday off. And we had a Tuesday off last week because we did Tuesday, but with a Monday schedule. It made it a real pain to schedule everything and move everything around, but I did it. Before your first lab. So if you have lab scheduled on Mondays and Wednesdays, you have lab tomorrow. Before your first lab, syllabus. Let's go to lab schedule. See if that link works. That link might be broken. Yeah, that link is broken because I changed the page that the lab schedule was on. But here's the regular schedule, and the next page after is the lab schedule, I think. This PLA schedule. The next one after this is the lab schedule. I'll fix the broken link. So lab schedule. See, no in-person labs Monday and Tuesday. Person labs Wednesday, Thursday. Next week's normal. Then week 3, no in-person labs on Thursday and Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. Then a normal week. Then 2 normal weeks in a row. That's pretty sweet. Then so you get it how it works out there. You should, before your first lab, follow the steps for before your first lab. If between now and tomorrow at 3 o'clock, if you're in tomorrow's 3 o'clock lab, you can't complete all of these steps, it'll be okay. You won't get kicked out. But if you have done it before tomorrow's lab, you won't have to do it after tomorrow's lab. And then end of the week, there's like a quiz. Oh, so one of the steps is review the lab instructions. For this one, just click on the link. It'll show you the thing. For this one, go to the CNC quick guide and go to the instructions and review the lab instructions. Having reviewed the lab instructions before starting the lab will make it so the lab makes more sense to you. There's also, I think in this one in particular, there's even a video that I say, hey, watch this before you do the lab. So that it's me going through doing the lab and talking about how to do the lab and why we do the different steps. And then there's going to be questions about it. And there's a quiz that will be live on Canvas that you can go and answer questions about the stuff we did in lab. So this is a lab quiz. I think it's the only lab quiz we have the whole term. Let me go back to the first page of the syllabus here. Again, that link doesn't work. Oh, come on. There's a little video here. I go through, I explain the syllabus. Pay no attention to the fact that it says that it's for A22. This is the video I made A term. But the content is still the same. Just ignore the dates that I mentioned. It's the same stuff. So you can go ahead and watch that video. We have class tomorrow in Foisey, the building formerly known as Foisey. Class tomorrow in the Innovation Studio, second floor. Class back here on Thursday. Tomorrow we're going to talk about, don't skip class tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to talk about our group project, and we're going to form groups for our group project. If you skip class tomorrow, it's going to be harder to be in a group because you'll have to then like go on the discussion forum and be all unengineery and be extroverted and say, I need a group. Whereas if you're in the room, we can all look down, we can just bump into each other until we form sort of a little hive, and you'll have a project group. And so we're going to talk about the term project and how the groups work. Same time, different room. And I remembered to click go live this time. So now we're going to end.
Labs